Hello, this is Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and this podcast series is called Aging Like a Guru, Who Me? And today I've invited David Bennett, who's an aging guru guy, to join us.
Me?
Yes, you and everyone else listening. Um, David is one of my favorite people on the planet. One of his books that he wrote, Journey to Purpose, is one of my favorite books. I've read it numerous times because there's so much good wisdom in there, and the stories that he tells are really enchanting and wonderful. David had a near-death experience many years ago. 20 years ago, David? 30, 40?
1983, so yeah, it's been a while.
Long time. And in that near-death experience, he experienced the ocean of light, being immersed in that. He met his soul family. He had a life review, and then he was kicked back into his body to finish out the experience of drowning and then not drowning. So, David, welcome uh, to joining me today. I don't mean to be flippant about your experience. It's just pretty phenomenal.
Well, I can laugh about it too.
Good.
I mean, it was many years ago, and I've had a lot of time to examine it and integrate it into my life.
Yeah, I can imagine. And because of that, and if you want to tell us how old you are or how young you are or how
Well,
ageless
I'm
you are,
63.
63.
I'm 63.
Okay.
Yes, I
And
had my experience when I was in my mid-20s, so it
okay.
was a long.
So, we could talk all afternoon about your process and your experience, but what I want to know is how has your experience affected your perspective on aging?
Yeah, it's that's an interesting question, and I love that you pose that to me because I think normally as just aging humans, we have a propensity of trying to seek more peace and tranquility in our life. I think that's a normal process. I think by having a spiritually transformative experience, especially a profound, deep experience, that I think it just deepens that drive to find more peace in your life and bring it into your environment, into your
Mhm.
circles, into your interactions, that sort of thing. I know here in my home, we every time we move into a new home, we just moved into this home 4 years ago. We probably spent the first year just creating a sanctuary
Uh-huh.
where we knew we could come to and find our repose, be able to fill our cup and have a base of operation where we could live out, that sense of peace and everything. Because I also, as we age, I think we feel the need to, give back. Um, at least for me, that's a strong urge within me to give back. When we're
And
younger.
what is it? Is it the aging, or is it something that's happening because of the aging?
Well, that's hard to answer. I'd have to say that's a good query.
Because I think my point in asking that is the aging process takes place. Like if we were wine and we were fermenting, things would be happening and flavors would be added and essences and things that happen because of this process. As long as we're on the planet in these human forms, we're fermenting, maturing, flavoring. Our essences are becoming more. And so my sense is that because we keep doing that, then we have more generosity of spirit. We have more flavor, if you will.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that we are a sum of all of our life's interactions and experiences, and that it tends to flavor the way we view life and the way that we move forward in life. And so I think within my life, I felt like Spirit was very generous with me. I mean, yes, I went through a lot of suffering too. When you read my book, Voyage of Purpose, yeah, you can see there was a lot of suffering there. But through that suffering, there was growth. And as we mature, we can look back with hindsight. Okay, that's a great advantage in getting older, is you can look back in hindsight and see how things gave you a leg up or gave you the tools you needed to move forward, that sort of thing.
right. Or gave you the challenges that dares you to shift your orientation so that you have a different outcome than just one that's kind of normally expected.
Yeah, I think, and as we get older, I think we also are not afraid to change our minds. I think
I like that.
we allow ourselves to just be who we are. We don't have to wear the veils anymore. We don't have to try to put on this persona that I'm such and such, and we could just be naturally, let our hair grow gray,
Yep.
and just be who we are. That.
Yes. That one of the things that happens for me is I have a sister who's 6 years older than I am. And so it appears from my perspective that as we get old, we all look alike, just like babies all look alike. So we all get gray hair and we all have wrinkles and you can hardly see who's there, but the essence of the person is still there. So there's that point where we keep, in our growing process, we want to define ourselves as unique and special and different. But there's a point where you go, I'm going to look just like her. I mean, and which looks like Aunt Martha or, Cheryl, whoever down the street, like we're all going to look the same. But the essence of me or the essence of you, regardless of white hair, wrinkles, saggies, whatever, the essence is still there.
Yeah. Yeah. And just allow yourself to be who you are,
Yeah.
And sometimes that can, that can manifest itself in very blunt ways. But what's wrong with that? I mean, sometimes especially when I was younger, I was a brash young man. Okay. And then I had a spiritual experience, which taught me to be open and accepting and more loving. But I became a little more reserved. And now I feel myself going back the old way where, it's like, okay, I feel like if I have something to say, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold it in reserve any longer.
Yeah. Yeah. I did some, been watching these YouTube videos on paint pouring, and that just got really exciting for me. And paint pouring is like, there's no structure, right? It's just, you pour paint on the canvas, different colors, and you wiggle the canvas around, or you put screwies or whatever, and it comes out the way it comes out. And so that formlessness is really interesting, but the part of me that's so used to structure, whatever level of structure I am, I walked outside the other day and I go, oh my God, I might end up swirling my whole trailer with color. It might be splattered paint, the whole thing. Oh my God, what's that going to be like, And it was like, yeah, that might happen. And the freak out is like, you better not go there, as opposed to going, well, that's the expression of me, if that's, like you say, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
That it might shock a few people. My daughter might show up and go, Mom, you kind of gone off over the edge, but I haven't, but the interpretations.
Right.
David,
Right.
I have a one more question or two,
Okay.
maybe, but what's the scariest aspect for you of aging? So again, having, you have a very deep relationship with spirit, and that
Yeah.
level of engagement and the sanctuary that's so important in your life, and the place of peace, and founding your life with Cindy in this sanctuary of peace. So with all that, you're still in this human form and human experience. What's the scariest aspect of aging for you?
Well, through my whole journey, I've seen a lot of, I've had my times of suffering, and what scares me is to have to go through more suffering.
Yeah.
I would say that would be my number one fear.
Yeah.
Because everything else is secondary really to that.
Yeah.
But I try to put that fear, I try not to allow that fear to rule my life, though. It doesn't have a place in my day-to-day existence.
Mm-hmm.
It's there and it's in the background, and it's to be, you need to be mindful that you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So I think it's healthy to have, there's some fear is healthy to have.
Okay.
And I believe that's one that's healthy to have for me, because I already have a number of physical limitations.
Yes.
Because of my past mental because of my past physical history. That was a Freudian slip. But it just I think that would be my fear.
So if people are listening, and because well, if people are listening, but people who resonate with that, and I think it's one of the number one fears that people have is perhaps the suffering that's possible. What's, aside from not letting it enter your everyday life, what is a remedy or an anecdote or a way of being so that you've got that fear in balance with
Yeah,
your knowing?
I think it's a healthy lifestyle. A healthy lifestyle, and don't take undue chances that, like, okay, I'm a little too old to start hang gliding, things like that.
Yeah.
So, and so I, like Cindy says, I was thinking, oh boy, I'd really love to have a motorcycle again. She's like, yeah, but you'd have to ride it wrapped in bubble wrap. So, because I have a titanium spine, so just that vibration would really be bad for me. So it's like, yeah, you just got to think it through.
Yeah.
Think it through, and create a healthy lifestyle. Eat right, get plenty of rest. Do the basics. Just
Yeah.
cover the basics.
If it's like, if you I've started taking supplements about a year ago, and I'm so happy I'm doing that, because I feel like that plus better eating, healthy air, exercise, being out in nature. Uh, I've done everything I can do to empower myself to alleviate the most suffering possible as best I can. And so I don't worry about, oh gosh, I'm drinking too much and that's going to create whatever problems it creates,
Right.
or using my hands or my physicality to the degree that I'm creating injury. So like you said, that place of balance, but also knowing you're doing everything you can to create that lifestyle that's going to support you in alleviating any potential suffering that you are already creating, if you know what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
If you're doing stuff you're doing, and it's going to create problems down the way, you might want to consider doing something else.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't want to.
And know your limitations. I think it's important that we know our limitations.
So in terms of the spiritual element of our reality, sometimes that suffering, as that suffering creates those possibilities and those opportunities to experience a sense of self that we haven't allowed ourselves to experience until then.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yes.
And
there's expansion of being.
yeah. And if we've come here to have certain spiritual experiences or human experiences and we haven't had them yet, as we get closer to the end, we might go, oh, I better have this circumstance or this circumstance so that I can finish up my my course requirements. and the other,
like a true professor.
Oh, thanks. And we're running a little long, but that's okay. But that piece that it's like you realize in your near-death experiences that you're the spiritual being having a human experience. And something that you said earlier was, it's like, okay, so now I can actually embrace all of my humanness, which includes what happens inside the suffering, which includes inside the scariness and the struggles, which includes inside the peace and the surrendering. It's being that, knowing that you are the spiritual being, but you've come here to have these human experience, not to avoid them or have them, do a spiritual bypass, if you will.
Yeah, I liken it like from all the different facets of life, spiritual, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Through all those facets, it's like now I'm walking through my life with my eyes wide open.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And if you were to leave me and whoever is listening, with one thing to consider for themselves as a potential practice or a potential way to see the world or see themselves in their human experience, what would you?
Be open to and be observant. One of the things that I was taught early on, and I didn't take into consideration most of my life, was to observe the natural world around me, to observe my circumstance. It allows you to approach life just from a slightly elevated level of being.
Great. Great. So noticing, observing, witnessing, not just
Mhm.
being immersed in the process or immersed in your reality, your circumstances, but actually go, oh, I'm actually a driver of this car, or I'm actually the one making the text happen, or I'm the one who's listening. And so there's this little step back as
Yeah.
the witness. And
Yes,
that really helps. That's
it
really
does.
great.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
So, David, your book that I love is Journey to Purpose.
Voyage of purpose.
Aha! Voyage to Purpose. Voyage to Purpose, Voyage to Purpose, Voyage to Purpose. It'll be in the links on this and Voyage to Purpose, or you can Google David Bennett and Cindy Griffith Bennett and go to Amazon. Your books are there. Or his website, which is
dharmatalks.com.
dharmatalks.com, DHARMA talks.com.
Correct.
Awesome. David, thank you so much for being with me today. And we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you. It's been great.
Big hugs. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.